everyone. I am greatly delighted to introduce to you the speaker of the day, Professor Dr. Sairam. To begin with, Sir has completed his education wholly in Mysore, from his bachelor's in law in JSS Law College to completing his PhD from the University of Mysore. Sir has authored various books such as Natural Resource Conservation Law, Sage India, in the year 2010, and also the Right to Information in the year 2012. Besides that, Sir has co-authored the book Environmental Law Handbook for Law Practitioners and has been an editor of Rare Law Journal in 2005 and 2006. Furthermore, in 2003, Sir was an adjunct faculty at the Golden Gate University, San Francisco, and received the Young India Environmental Law Fellowship in 2003 and the Fulbright Fellowship in 2010. Sir has been the Academic Exchange Fellow at the Royal Institute of Technology, Stockholm, Sweden in the year 2012 to 2013. Currently, Sir is the Professor of the National Law School of India University and the Center Coordinator of Environmental Law Education, Research and Advocacy. Here to enlighten us with the topic on social and scientific uncertainties in environmental law, please put your hands together to welcome Dr. Sairam. Over to you.
Friends, very good morning to all of you. How many of you wish to make a career in environmental law?
Very new to us, sir.
New to you, yeah, I understand. How many of you have studied environmental law as a subject? Oh, very few. Oh my God. Okay, somewhere over there, I think. Okay, the rest have not studied environmental law. And here I'm thinking that I'll come up with very advanced challenges, law and okay. So first and foremost, friends, I just wanted to kind of motivate you to take environmental law as a career. I don't know if you know this. Okay, all of you are law students?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great, that's that's one yes for the day. Good to start off with. Friends, when we start our career as law students, we always aspire to be a senior advocate in the Supreme Court. Maybe someone like the hero in some movie who's like in Suits and something else. So we dream of career, say corporate law, right? Because there is money there. But to be honest, friends, today, if you look at it, no industry, and in Karnataka itself we have 44,000 industries, just to give you statistics. No industry can be established without an environmental clearance. So to be honest, friends, while you talk about corporate law and corporate compliances, which I think is very important, no doubt about it, if you want to specialize in corporate law, you must do it. But let me also tell you the opportunities in environmental law are actually fantastic. If you specialize in this area of law, it's too good. You could either be on the side of the industry, defending the industry, trying to get the environmental clearance for the industry, trying to make the environment comply with the various environmental regulations. Because please note, in environmental law, we do not have one statute. Like in corporate law, you have just Companies Act. In environmental law, we have more than 18 statutes. 18. So compliance over there is pretty tough. It's quite complicated. You know why? Because corporate law is law, environmental law is not pure law. Environmental law has a lot of science in it, a lot of engineering in it, a lot of technology in it. So first thing first, friends, in case you wish to specialize in environmental law, I think this is the right time. There are a lot of multinational companies coming into India looking at environmental lawyers to actually help them out, both at the litigation front but also at the corporate law front. There are a lot of NGOs in case you want to fight for human rights, environmental cause, climate change, so on and so forth. You can even work for them. It depends upon which side of the story you are. So please consider this area as a very, I must say, upcoming, robust area for career. that you can actually choose for. Okay. In case you want more details, you can go to www.soar.com or something, whatever. Anyway, the point is, that's the first thing that I wanted to say at this point of time. Second is, I'm going to get into a teaching mode for you. All of you have studied constitutional law? Great. I'm going to introduce you to something today, and that is called ex post facto. Let me see if I can write that. Heard of this? Yeah? Where did you see this? Where did you hear this? Come on, quickly. 20 clause 1. Very good. Excellent. So the Constitution has this. What does this mean in the Constitution anyway? Okay, is this an English expression? No, it is a Latin expression. What does it mean in Latin? Laws cannot be retrospective. Okay? Or the application of the laws cannot be retrospective. Laws can be, but the application cannot be retrospective. And you cannot be punished for something which was not punishable at that point of time. Right? Does anyone understand what this means? Okay? Please note, when you say this, you don't want something to be applicable to a fact which was in the past. Suppose I do something and then you get a law. You don't want the law to punish this retrospectively. Am I right? Ex post facto. Are we clear about this? Do we understand this? Okay, great. How is it related to environment? Friends, two recent Supreme Court judgments, if you just want to check. One is filed by a very young advocate, activist called Rohit Prajapati. He went before Justice Chandrachud. I hope you know Justice Chandrachud.
Yes, sir.
He's going to be the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of India very soon. He went to his court and he wanted to challenge this clearance under environmental law. So look at how Constitution drives environmental law. Now for some time, right from say 2012 onwards, in environmental law, we used to give this clearance to industries. How? Let me just explain that. So today, if any industry has to set up anywhere in India, they have to seek certain permissions. One, under the Water Act. Second, under the Air Act. There is something called forest clearance that we have to apply for, right? So there is these kinds of documents that you have to take before you can start the industry. Okay. Especially even a university like CMR will have to take the permission if you have a DG set. Okay. So when I say industry, don't just say polluting industry. Any developmental activity has to take permission. So if you identify a land and then you want to construct, you have to take permission. So without what we call as an environmental clearance, this has what we call as consent and so on and so forth. You cannot start any activity. This is how the law stands as of now. However, the ministry was granting ex post facto clearance. Which means what? Suppose an industry has been already in operation without this. They can probably apply it retrospectively. Got it? So suppose CMR has started. It's been 10 years and they have not taken environmental clearance up. Now they can go to the ministry and say, for the past 10 years also give us the clearance. What do you think about this? Good, bad, ugly? Should ex post facto clearance be given under environmental law? What's your assessment?
No.
No? Why? What's the problem?
For a reason, the damage that's already happened has happened. The damage cannot
Good. Good thinking. Good thinking. Anyone else? Go ahead.
Maybe others will start taking it for granted. I mean, they will go on for 5-10 years and then come back.
Excellent. So if you have one such precedent, you will start making industries after industries and say, I will not apply for 5 years, I will not apply for 10 years. I can anytime take this clearance. What's a big deal, right? Anyhow, you can take clearance by paying. Anyway, let's not get into the illegality of clearance. Let us only stick to the legality of it. Anyone else? What do you think? Should ex post facto clearance be given under environmental law? This is a legitimate legal question posed before a bench headed by Justice Chandrachud very recently by this advocate, young student advocate called Rohit Prajapati. Justice Chandrachud said, sorry, this defeats the purpose of environmental law. The basic principle in environmental law is called the precautionary principle. Right? So this defeats. And this gives the bureaucrats the administrative discretion. In some cases, they will give clearance. In some cases, they will say, no, you have operated without clearance, so we will impose a penalty. So it's a huge discretion, and wherever there is discretion, there is power, and where there is power, there is corruption. So I don't think ex post facto clearances should be granted in environmental law, is what Justice Chandrachud said very recently. Then we had another case, just a couple of months after this judgment, and that is the recent judgment given by Justice Indira Banerjee in the Supreme Court of India. This is called the Dastak NGO case. You can Google these cases. They are all very recent cases. And Live Law also has a very interesting article published on this. Dastak NGO. Friends, you will notice that in Dastak NGO case, Justice Indira Banerjee reverses Justice Chandrachud's judgment and says, no ex post facto clearance should be given. It should not be given in a blanket mode, but it can be given on a case-to-case mode. So, Justice Indira Banerjee has reversed what Justice Chandrachud had done just recently in a couple of months. Justice Chandrachud's judgment came in 2021. Justice Indira Banerjee's judgment came just last month. Justice Indira Banerjee takes a very practical approach to environmental law. Justice Chandrachud takes a very jurisprudential approach to environmental law. Justice Indira Banerjee in this case says, in the Dastak NGO case says, no, look, this is a reality. There are a lot of activities that don't take clearance. So the ministry has to evaluate and they have to give clearance. We can't help it. Ex post facto clearance. That's the topic that I was discussing with you. So the Pollution Control Board usually may have to give consent. The ministry will have to give AC. So practically we have to take this into consideration. We can't say blanketly the ministry should have no power whatsoever. The reason why I spoke about these two cases, friends, these are very recent cases of the Supreme Court, is the topic of, or the title of the topic that is given to me is about societal and scientific uncertainties in environmental law. Uncertainties. When you talk about societal uncertainties, my basic problem is judicial uncertainty. Are the judges in the court certain about what they are saying and giving a long-term message for people to actually follow and adhere to? Because we look up to the judiciary to lay down the law when the executive and the legislature have failed to do the same. But shouldn't judiciary be consistent? Shouldn't then the judicial approach be long-term approach and not short-term basis? So if we do not have a consistent bench in the Supreme Court, please note, in the 1990s when Justice Kuldeep Singh, I don't know if you have heard of this judge, he was called the Green Judge, Justice Kuldeep Singh. The Supreme Court had a green bench. It had a green bench, which means only those judges specialized in environmental law would hear the matter. And if those judges hear the matter, there will be consistency of judgment. Do you agree? Right? Now you have a Justice Chandrachud bench, then Justice Indira Banerjee bench. Justice Chandrachud says one thing, Justice Indira Banerjee saying completely reverse to what Justice Chandrachud says. Maybe she does not want to get promoted. You didn't understand the joke. It's okay. Usually judges don't give dissenting and different opinions in the Supreme Court, especially when you know that that judge is going to be the next Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of India. But I should admire Justice Indira Banerjee. She has a difference of opinion, maybe because she is going to retire before he becomes Chief Justice. But she was very clear. She said, case to case basis, this is a reality we have to give. Friends, this ex post facto clearance is a very problematic situation. I don't know if you heard about a legislation called the Biodiversity Act of 2002, one of those environmental statutes. Manoj sir, you definitely know about it because the biodiversity law is very close to forest law. One of the legislations that we have is called the Biodiversity Act. And please note, friends, broadly in environmental law we have three regulators. One, the Pollution Control Board. Second, the Forest and Wildlife Department. And third, we have another regulator called the Biodiversity Board. This is the third regulator in the space of environmental law. Because there is a special enactment that creates a National Biodiversity Authority and it creates a State Biodiversity Board. Friends, even under the Biodiversity Act, we have ex post facto. We have this. Now, you will notice, how does the Biodiversity Act deal with this? What I'm just trying to tell is how consistent this is being used in environmental statutes. Right? Friends, under the Biodiversity Act, you will notice most Ayurvedic companies have to seek permission from the Biodiversity Board if they're actually extracting using biological resources. They have to seek permission. But suppose you have not sought permission in the last 3 years. Under the Biodiversity Act, you can actually now seek permission retrospectively for the past 3 years. This has been permitted by several notifications by the ministry from time to time. So, do you think having a jurisprudence on ex post facto is good for corporate law? Do you think having an ex post facto jurisprudence is good for corporate law? Do you think it is good for companies law? What do you think? Good? Because companies can start operation without taking clearance. They can ask for clearance after 3 years and 5 years, no problem. Anyhow, Indira Banerjee will give you judgment. मिल सकता है. जो अभी नहीं मिलेगा तो बाद में तो मिलेगा ही, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. Do you think we can run a legal system of corporate greed and corporate opportunities without adhering to the basic principles of clearances, compliances, consent? This is something that we will have to evaluate, the practicality and the jurisprudential point of it. Right? Because unless we have clarity, and let me tell you, the clarity is you must have the right of doing business, no doubt about it. But does environment come before your right of doing business? And that's, I think, a very important point that we must consider at this juncture. Friends, let me just move on to my second topic. Friends, when we talk about environment, it's quite inevitable often to have scientific uncertainty. What do you think? How many of you think climate change is real? All of you. No one is Donald Trump's fan here? Oh my God. I am. I am.
No, sir.
Because if he is not there, there is no fun. For example, I like Nityananda. If you ask me why, I am close to his ashram. My institution is the nearest. You are pretty far. तुम लोग बच गए. But friends, please note, let's take climate change as an issue. Because it's a very contemporary issue. I think we have made too much out of climate change. See, if I don't provoke you, you won't listen to me. particularly as a public speaker, I have learned. Be controversial in your speech. People will listen to you even in the last row. क्या बोल क्या रहा है? Friends, please note climate change happens due to two factors. Yes, man-made. We have contributed. How? By burning fossil fuels. By cutting our trees, not allowing the carbon to sink. We have contributed. Man-made. But is climate change also due to natural factors? How did the dinosaurs disappear from the planet? How have the landscape of nations changed? Isn't there a natural phenomenon to climate? Of course there is. Didn't we have cyclones and floods even before 1970s? Before industrialization happened?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you think coronavirus is a challenge from climate change? Coronavirus. नहीं? Man-made? China ने उसको भेज दिया. There was this theory.
Yes, sir.
We said the next war will be biohazard. You don't need nuclear weapons. This virus will kill one. So the point, friends, is when we talk about climate change, let me give you some instances or examples. How have we been combating this problem? Friends, way before we started dealing with climate change, our first problem was air pollution. And let me give you the challenges of air pollution. Friends, the first time when the matter came before the Supreme Court of India, we said, sir, do you know what is the problem of climate change? The judges said, what is the problem? Justice Ranganath Mishra, I don't know if you have heard of the name of this judge. He once came to the Supreme Court and he called MC Mehta. He said, MC Mehta, do you know how Delhi's air is? MC Mehta said, sir, yeah, it is pretty bad. I am also asthmatic. Are you asthmatic? Justice Ranganath Mishra said, no, I am not asthmatic. But do you know, I have a white collar. And when I go back in the evening, the white collar turns. That's why I deliberately came to give you some practical example. So, this white collar कैसा होता है? हम तो कहते नहीं. So Justice Ranganath Mishra was worried about his collar. MC Mehta was worried about his asthma. And this resulted in the first case of Delhi's air pollution. And you said it is public interest litigation. Anyway, the first case was the Taj Mahal, which has white marble, is turning yellow. There is a refinery called Mathura Refinery, it's very close by, which is contaminating and polluting. इसको बंद करो. See, जब भी environment आता है ना, हम क्या बोलते हैं? We are anti-development. We don't want industries. But we still want Mercedes-Benz cars. We don't want industries, but we want LG phone, Samsung phone. Look at the hypocrisy that, we speak one, but we want something else. Who doesn't want development? Anyone here? Anyone who does not want development? No one? Two communities did not want development in India. Please note. Two communities did not choose for development. One, the tribals in the Niyamgiri hills in Odisha. They did not. They chose to protect the Niyamgiri hills. Sir will tell you more about it. And another community was in Kerala, the Silent Valley. They said no to development, which is a rare phenomenon in India. Otherwise, we speak environment, but we want development. But the point is, friends, in Taj Mahal's case, we wanted to protect a monument, but we wanted to close down an industry. Do you think this is the option? Do you think we can only protect the environment by stopping development? By closing down industries? Again, Justice Indira Banerjee, in a recent case, just 2 days back, she says this is not an option, and I like her. She says it's not an option. 8,000 workers were actually going unemployed in a factory which was ordered to close down. Justice Indira Banerjee says closing down is not an option. Compliance to environmental standards is an option. Unemployment is not an option. Survival and right to life is an option. But then look at what Delhi's air quality is. How many of you have gone to Delhi during winter? Did you suffer Delhi's air? Yes. Okay, how is Bangalore's air? Good? You are happy? Okay, good.
Okay.
I'm happy because I'm sure none of you have asthma.
Okay, sir.
You know, as per few studies, Bangalore is considered as one of the asthma capitals of this country. Yeah. We are the garbage capital, but we are the asthma capital also. I don't know for what reason. How do you compare garbage and asthma? Anyway, garbage also produces methane and other gases. So we must be contributing to a lot of bad air quality. The point is this. Delhi has always suffered bad air quality, and please note, we have been suffering Delhi's bad air quality for more than 20 years now. It's been in news. Every winter you see Delhi's air in the news. And then Arnav Goswami will, 4 people will come and they will give opinions, but they will have no influence on policy making. Friends, look at Delhi. What we started off with was very, very interesting, and please understand this from a scientific and societal uncertainty purpose. Please understand this. 20 years back, we said we need low sulfur diesel. We had to refine diesel to make it low sulfur so that there is less emission. So we brought in that technology. We told our refineries, please make it low sulfur. We said petrol should not have lead, so please remove lead. Then we said 2-stroke engine is not good, let us introduce. See, the boys know the technology. Girls were thinking, what is 2-stroke? 4-stroke engines. You remember what happened with the two-wheeler industry? I don't know if your generation was probably in the first and the second standard. You probably did not know much about technology at that point of time. You know, in Delhi, there was this very interesting vehicle called tuk-tuk. It was also called fatfatiya. You know, it was called fatfatiya by the noise that it generated.
Yes, sir.
Tapa, 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 tapa. If you go to KR Puram in Bangalore, you will see some of these fatfatiyas. How many of you have a Royal Enfield bike? Don't raise your hands. I mean the boys. The boys will be, you know, they will first go and tamper with the muffler of the silencer. Did you do that?
No, sir.
Better not, say yes. So what we did was, the Supreme Court said, nothing of this will work. Let's convert our public transport system and let them use CNG. At that point of time, friends, please note 1999, when the Supreme Court came up with this judgment to clean Delhi's air, they said the cleaner fuel should be used, especially in the public transport system. This will reduce air pollution. So CNG was brought in, and please note all the public transport system were asked to face and start using a cleaner fuel called the combustible natural gas. Did this help Delhi's air quality? Because remember, air pollution and climate change are interlinked. I hope you understand this. Maybe it helped. Maybe it helped. But in 1999, did anyone tell the Supreme Court that CNG is also a fossil fuel? Did anyone tell the Supreme Court? No one said. We were choosing the lesser devil at that point of time. The lesser devil was, between petrol and diesel, CNG was less emitting into the atmosphere. and it was supposed to be cleaner when it was burned. But CNG is also fossil fuel. 20 years down the lane, what are we thinking about in the automobile sector? We are not thinking of Euro 1, Bharat Stage 1, Bharat 2. Which stage are we in? Royal Enfield. BS? Very good. We are not thinking of BS7 or BS. We are not thinking of BS8 and BS9. What we are thinking of is, what are we thinking with the automobile sector? What do we want them to do? We want them to be electric. No longer fossil fuel dependent. We want to shift all these automobile sectors into the electric battery mode. Fossil fuels, they still burn. Lesser burning, but still emissions. Emissions means air pollution, though lesser quality, but still contributing to climate change. Dependency on fossil fuel is not good for any century. So today we are talking of electric, and hence friends, please note, the science and environmental law is always evolving. Innovation, change, technology, betterment. It's always good. You have to think further. You can't be static with environmental law. You have to improve with environmental law as the technology comes in. For example, friends, in the 1990s, I still remember, we were saying the waste industry is actually the waste industry. Today, waste industry is a profitable industry. Because we are looking at waste to energy source. Friends, if you look at India, let's take waste as a major problem. We have so many regulations on waste. Very recently, we have introduced a couple of new wastes. Have you heard about construction and demolition waste rules? Maybe you haven't. This is the new kind of waste that we are generating in urban cities, because we are redesigning our homes, reconstructing our homes, demolition of old buildings, highways, projects are happening. And in a city like Bangalore, where do these demolition wastes get dumped? Most of them are dumped on lake beds. So we have a new regulation now. And there is a new industry that is actually processing this demolition waste. So friends, what was waste today is an opportunity. What is a problem is always an opportunity. If environment is a problem, it's a great opportunity. Opportunity for scientists, technologists, business managers, and lawyers. Because every problem is a unique opportunity. Either you are the one who is magnifying the problem, or you are the one who is finding solutions to the problem. And are there legal solutions to environmental problem? I think there are. For example, friends, today plastic is a huge problem. Do you agree? None of you agree.
Yes, sir.
Some response. That you are here, or maybe you are thinking about lake. Which lake to go in the evening today? With whom? Okay, that's privacy, but yeah. Which lake is public? Now the point is, friends, let me introduce you to a very interesting concept that we have brought in law. And that is called extended producer's responsibility. Friends, what does this mean? Does anyone want to take a chance? Friends, the first time we introduced this, we introduced it under a rules called the batteries rules. And under the batteries rules, because there was lead in that battery, and lead contamination can be very severe on land and water, we said that you should not dispose your batteries with the municipal waste. Don't mix it with them. Don't throw it. You are responsible to give the battery back to the dealer, to the manufacturer. And the dealer and the manufacturer have a duty and responsibility to take the batteries back. Now, once the manufacturer takes it back, he should recycle it if possible. Reuse it if possible. So, when you recycle and reuse, you reduce waste. And this is a concept. Extended produces responsibility. What does this word extended mean? Friends, it means that if you're a manufacturer and a producer, generally you are taking responsibility for the life cycle of the product. What is the life cycle of a product? Suppose it's a Samsung phone. If you want to repair it, you go to the Samsung showroom, they will repair it and give it to you. Correct? But this principle says you should be responsible for the end cycle of the product. What is that end cycle? When you don't want the Samsung phone or is it not in a working condition, it becomes a waste. Now at this point of time, let me ask you all, what will you do with a non-working phone? What will you do? Quickly, answer me.
Exchange.
Non-working phone exchange. Wow.
They take.
Please tell me the name of the dealer.
I will send you, sir.
मैं बोल रहा हूँ working नहीं कर रहा है यार.
Still they take, sir.
Still they take and do what?
They recycle.
They'll make it work.
No, yeah, they
By
recycle.
a Chinese SIM. You will be caught under the National Securities Act also. Additional. And they're saying apart from environmental law, please know your other liability. Joking, just keeping it humorous. Yeah, tell me, what will you do? Okay, what do you do with your chargers that don't work? Where do you throw it, ma'am? Neighbor's house. Better ना. जो हमारा कचरा है वो उनका होना चाहिए. Good neighborhood principle is there in tort law. You know, nobody wants to keep waste in house. Do you want to keep waste within your house?
No, sir.
Even for a day?
No, sir.
This is the principle what we call as not in my backyard. It's a syndrome. We just want to get away the waste from our backyards. We want to throw it somewhere. Anywhere but somewhere. It could be the municipality, it could be the neighbor, it could be the lake. Or suppose I am traveling from Bangalore to Mysore. Just lower the window and kahin Ramnagar mein Sholay film. I've seen a lot of people doing it. You know, biomedical waste being dumped on the roadside. Anyway, the point is like this, friends. Today, under the electronic waste management rules, electrical and electronic, please note, two words, electrical and electronic waste management rules. Every electrical and electronic company must comply with this principle called EPR. Your TV, your laptop, your phone, your electrical components. You have a duty, friends, not to throw it to the municipal bill. You cannot. You shouldn't. As a citizen, you also have fundamental duties to protect the environment. Article 51(a)(g) of the Constitution says to every citizen, please respect and conserve the environment. You are duty bound to give it to the manufacturer back at the end cycle of it. End cycle, when it's a waste. Give it back to them. It is they who are responsible to recycle, reuse it, or treat the waste however they wish to do it. It is their responsibility. Friends, today we have introduced EPR under the plastics rules as well. So your kurkure packet, will I get that during tea?
Yeah.
Okay. They have some other plans, Lace chips maybe. That's my favorite. You know, look at the kind of waste that we are generating with the kind of packaging material that we are using today. Do you agree? The packaging material is generating the most amount of waste.
Yes, sir.
Please note, the plastic rules also tell these companies that you must implement extended producer's responsibility. It's yet to be implemented, but at least it is there on paper. Friends, the idea of EPR is that you must make businesses more responsible. Okay, tell me, if you are a businessman and if you have EPR as a mandate, how does it change your attitude? What do you do? I think the AC went off as a signal saying that you should stop speaking. Yeah, I got the signal. Don't worry, I'm stopping up this. Yeah, please. No, this is not. You should tell me directly. No? This is like. No, I got the message. Clear. Tell me, what do you think?
Sir, I think it becomes more of a cost center and businesses are least interested in it.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Anyone else?
It will also become more responsible because it will come back to him.
Absolutely. If you look at corporate attitude, it is to make, release, and forget about it. Today, if you know that what you have produced as a Samsung phone is going to come back to you, right? How will you produce the Samsung phone, ma'am? You will produce it in such a manner that you know that I should use maximum recyclable components. It's not use and throw components. And you will be responsible to actually probably treat the batteries. So how will you make the batteries more sustainably, more long term? You will give it more life than the shortened life that we use in these business sectors. So if EPR is used, we can also reduce the responsibility of the municipalities and the government, because finally who is to manage the waste? I generated it, right? Who is responsible to treat it? We expect the government to do it. And the government probably cannot handle the magnitude of the problem of waste. And hence, can businesses be made more responsible? I think EPR is a great principle to make them responsible. The problem is that businesses should not only do CSR, that is social responsibility, they must also undertake environmental responsibility. And the extended producer principles actually bring in that environmental responsibility. The first time this was introduced in Germany, friends, you will notice that in Germany, television manufacturers were said, if you produce television, after 5 or 6 years, if the consumer does not want the television, you have a duty and responsibility to collect it back. So please establish collection centers. हम क्या करते हैं, टीवी ठीक नहीं है तो you to our servant. Right. If nothing happens, then we'll call the kabaddi wala and say, please take it. So I think the way society has responded, friends, and the way we are looking at environment, I think we have a huge responsibility in terms of managing our environment for the future generation. And hence, we have to use law, no doubt about it. But let me tell you, the prescriptions of law can only work if we make it work. If we feel that this law is not just a top-down approach, it's not a prescription for us, it is actually a mandate that each one of us should follow, then I think we can make this law far more workable. But the problem in India still continues to be our attitude, friends, to be honest. And unless we change this attitude, I don't think environmental law is going to be working. Right? Let me close by just telling you about this one fact. How many of you smoke? Don't raise your hand. Here's the one. Sorry. If you look at the Central Crimes Bureau data, environmental crimes in India is recorded and reported every year. Among the top crimes that happen in environment are forest and wildlife. The crimes happen there because we have a lot of followers of Veerappan, Pushpa. So crimes keep happening there. But above forest and wildlife, there is one legislation that has been included in environmental law. That is the anti-tobacco legislation. For your kind information, friends, smoking is an environmental crime. Women are saying good. Good, very good. I don't know which women are saying, the smokers or non-smokers. Anyway, the point is, if you look at the statutes that we have now listed, and I'm pretty happy that the smoking in public place legislation is included in environmental law. You know why? I've been often saying this. Look, we say that the industry is polluting. Yes, maximum, collectively, the kind of pollution, yes. But what about individual dua? क्या ये भी पोल्यूशन होगा?
Yes, sir.
क्या ये राइट टू हेल्थ को अफेक्ट करेगा?
Yes, sir.
मेरे हिसाब से करता है. आपका हेल्थ भी, but not that kind of health that is shown before the movie starts. No, we are like, oh, ये मत दिखाना यार. The point is, I think India has changed the way we look at environment. The industries are not the sole culprits of environmental pollution, friends. We all individually owe our responsibility and duty to protect the environment. If this societal change can be ensured, it's not looking at वो कर रहा है, मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ. Individually, how are we going to be responsible for the same? I think that will go a long way in bringing about a cultural shift to environmental protection. I think with this, friends, I should stop. Sorry, I couldn't deal much. I just introduced you a couple of topics because of time constraint. But I think this is an exciting area. You should probably expertise in this. You should join the Indian Forest Service. You should probably become an environmental lawyer. I don't know if you know that today we have a bar. Sham wala bar nahi. We have a NGT bar, National Green Tribunal Bar. This is a bar of specialized environmental lawyers. We have created, like you have the Supreme Court bar and you have the Bar Council in the High Court. हम लोगों ने हमारा Green Lawyers का bar create किया. Just to tell you how important this area of practice actually is. And as law students, I think you must develop your interest in this area of law, which I think gives you not only exciting opportunities nationally, but if you look at it internationally, if you're looking at scholarships, if you're planning to work for UN, if you're planning to work for any international organizations, let me tell you, this field of law gives you the maximum scholarship, fellowships, and opportunity. I have been quite benefited because I've chosen the same. If you wish to do that, choose environmental law. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for this thought-provoking and mesmerizing session. And thank you for showing us the future. So, moving on, now I would like to open the floor for question and answers. If the audience have any questions, you can please submit your questions.
Yes, please. It's a good question. I'm thanking you for raising that question. That's something that I think is very important. It has now slowly started getting implemented, but not all companies are actually. For example, HP, Dell. You're buying all these laptops. Do they have an EPR plan? Suppose after 3 years you don't use the Dell laptop. What do you do with it? How do you deal with it? Please note, every such company should give you an EPR plan. And let me tell you what this plan consists of. Say after the first year you want to return this laptop to Dell, they should tell you what is the depreciated cost at which they will take this laptop back. And let me tell you, the minimum price that is fixed for a smartphone is 500 rupees. Which means I'm saying waste also has certain value. It may be a depreciated cost, it may be a very meager amount, but what we need to do is make these companies responsible and tell or inform the citizens that please don't put it in the municipal bill because it has very hazardous material in it. Let's give it back to these companies, let us give it back to those e-waste management companies. We have specific companies that recycle this and reuse it so that we can minimize this. So, a lot of these companies are yet to publish their EPR plan. Samsung has done it, Dell has not. Yeah. What?
Thank you, sir, for the teaching. My question is about the citizens. I can agree with you that citizens, just after the corporations, are the most polluters of the environment. Actually, if we take the aggregate or the conglomeration of the pollution coming from the citizens, we can say that it is more than the corporations, like the literate. My observation is it's easy for us to throw things from the windows or on the roads and burning. Now, when you mentioned about the duty, now this duty, I want to ask, is it a mandatory duty or is optional? And if it is a mandatory, what is the sanction? Because if there is sanction, I wouldn't be seeing people throwing things on the road anyhow. So is it optional for me to not to litter, or is it mandatory? For you, it is mandatory. For me, it's optional. Did you get the point? Okay. To teach is easy. To teach is better. To practice is difficult. So, there is always a problem in India between law in text and law in action. Unfortunately. We always think there is no CCTV camera watching us. Right? And in India, we also have a very interesting attitude. Are you from India? I guess so. That's why you asked a very innocent question. Because in India, I'll give you a phrase that you can always use when you go out of this auditorium. Chalta hai. Wherever you go, just say this, and they will forgive you. But let me tell you, the scenario probably is changing, and I'm hoping that it's changing for the better. Very recently, we had a Supreme Court judgment which talked about loudspeakers in religious institutions. And the Supreme Court gave a deadline to all states to actually remove these loudspeakers from these religious institutions, because time and again the Supreme Court has been saying that as a matter of your right to religion, you do not have the right to use loudspeakers and create noise or generate a sound that is so-called unwanted. And we have law that would restrict the same. But the unfortunate thing is, the law on paper was looking good, but the law in action was politics. Religion is a great political platform. Right? So we did not implement the same. But the Supreme Court now is losing patience. And you will notice in Uttar Pradesh, nearly 21,000 loudspeakers were taken off from the religious institutions. This is there on paper, it's reported. So I think we are progressing towards a better educated, informed society. But it takes a while for any country to actually understand the implications of misuse of law, abuse of law, and probably the kind of political will that should be shown in such of these cases is probably a maturity of the legal system that will come down. But you are right. We still feel that right to spitting on road is a fundamental right. In India, Article 21B says so. So we have penalty. No. Please see, in India, for everything there is a penalty. There is no law in which we have. See, let me tell you, the legislators are very nice. They say what should be done, but the final, most favorite part of any law for them is the punishment chapter, the penalty chapter. They love it. Right? But let me give you some instances of drafting a good law and implementing. So implementation challenges always will remain in there. But we have challenges of drafting. For example, we say smoking in public place is prohibited. But do you know what a public place is?
People staying.
Why do you do that?
This is public place, sir.
Can anyone tell me what is a public place? What's your guess of a public place? Huh? The road is a public place. Okay, great. Okay, railway station is a public place. Cinema hall is a public place. University is a public place.
AV hall, sir.
For students, correct. For teachers? What is a public place? That's all a public place? Except for home, it's a public place. Wow, that's good. I'm grateful that you said that. But in Singapore, your home is also a public place. Ask me how. Let's assume I smoke before my child. in India? मगू गेम गुस्सा सॉरी यूज करना बच्चे को क्या पता होगा उसको भी सीखना चाहिए फूका कैसे मतलब सर्कल तो we are styling that also with this circle and holding the BD serious we are very stylish in this but Singapore says if you smoke in front or before any other person who is a non-smoker, it could be a wife. Do Indian wives really complain? Oh, sorry, Indian husbands, do you complain when your wife smokes? Gender equality, I believe. I think that is how a futuristic law should look like. Do I have a right to influence the health of my own family members? So home is also a public place, if you ask me. I have no right to influence the health of a child who cannot speak, who cannot probably raise his or her voice. That's the duty consciousness that you should have. Otherwise, to define a public place would be all that we have defined so far. But for me, a home is also a public place. And I think if legislation create that kind of duty consciousness, things can change. But be very hopeful, India is a great place.
Thank you so much, sir, for addressing all our queries and questions. And we are